I am not here to talk about what Starship Flight 13 achieved, but I will tell you exactly why is SpaceX suddenly acting like a college kid who forgot about a final that's worth their entire GPA. On July 24th, 2026, a Starship the size of a 20-story building did a controlled belly flop into the Indian Ocean. SpaceX called it a win. And technically, it was a win. The whole internet high-fiving Elon Musk like he just parallel parked the bus on the first try. But here's the part almost nobody talked about. While the internet was busy clipping the splashdown for TikTok, a NASA official quietly posted something that should have made every space nerd's stomach drop. And that's when it clicks. Flight 13 was not a victory lap. It was a countdown clock, and SpaceX just heard it tick a little louder. Because behind the confetti, there's a moon deadline slipping through their fingers, a Mars departure gate that about to slam shut for 2 straight years, and a Chinese rocket program that just quietly rolled a full-scale lunar lander out onto a launch pad like it's no big deal. The Artemis trap. Here's a fun fact about NASA contracts. They don't care about your vibes, your vision, or your billion Twitter followers. They care about dates on paper. And right now, SpaceX's date on paper is bleeding red ink. Back in 2021, NASA handed SpaceX the golden ticket, the human landing system contract for Artemis 3. Starship was supposed to put boots on the moon. Original target? 2024. We are, as you may have noticed, not in 2024 anymore. The mission has since been pushed and pushed and pushed again until NASA landed on no earlier than September 2028, which in NASA language roughly translates to, please stop asking. Internal SpaceX paperwork that leaked to the press told an even less flattering story. Their own engineers privately admitted 2028 was the earliest realistic shot, and that's assuming absolutely nothing else goes wrong, which, if you've been watching Starship's flight history, is a pretty big assumption. And here's the twist that actually explains the panic. NASA got tired of waiting. Earlier this year, the agency's acting administrator went on television and basically said the quiet part out loud. SpaceX has a contract. SpaceX keeps sliding the timeline, and America is in a race against China. So NASA opened the door for competitors. Blue Origin's Blue Moon lander is now officially allowed to elbow its way into the race for the actual landing mission. Read between the lines here. This isn't NASA being petty. It's NASA holding a stopwatch that Beijing is also watching. And for the first time in the Starship program's life, eventually is no longer an acceptable answer. SpaceX isn't just racing a rocket anymore. It's racing a rival company for the right to even keep the job. That's motivation number one. Now let's talk about the thing that's actually standing between SpaceX and the moon. Because it's not the rocket, it's the gas station. The gas station problem. Here's something Hollywood never shows you about rockets. They run out of gas, and that too constantly. Starship leaves Earth with basically nothing left in the tank. It burns almost everything just fighting its way to orbit to get to the moon or Mars. It needs a refill in space while moving at 17,500 miles per hour. Nobody has ever done this at this scale. Not NASA in the Apollo days, not Russia. Not anybody. SpaceX's plan sounds almost comically ambitious when you say out loud, launch a depot Starship into orbit, then launch somewhere between 8 and 16, some estimates say up to 20. Tanker Starships to dock with it one by one, and pump in liquid methane and liquid oxygen chilled to nearly minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, only after that orbital gas station is topped off, does the actual moon-bound Starship show up to fill its own tanks before heading to lunar orbit. Try to picture that as a real-world chore. Imagine trying to fill up your car, except the gas station is also flying at orbital velocity. The fuel is cold enough to snap steel, and you need 16 tanker trucks to show up back-to-back without a single one being late, leaking, or having a bad hair day. That's the plan. That's the actual, real, official plan. And as of Flight 13, SpaceX hadn't yet demonstrated a single ship-to-ship propellant transfer. Not once. NASA's own Inspector General flagged this back in March. Starship still hadn't hit orbit properly, hadn't done a fuel transfer, and hadn't landed anything uncrewed on the moon. 3 boxes that all needed to be checked before anyone even thinks about putting a crew inside. This is why orbital refueling isn't some side quest. It's the entire game. Skip the moon idea for a second. Refueling is also the only way Starship ever makes it to Mars with a full tank, because without a top-up in orbit, it simply doesn't carry enough propellant to make the trip in a reasonable time, especially if you want astronauts to survive the radiation exposure instead of arriving as beef jerky. Master this one unglamorous plumbing problem, and suddenly the Moon, Mars, and everywhere in between all become reachable. Fail it, and Starship is an extremely expensive way to watch fireworks over the Gulf of Mexico. The cosmic clock that doesn't care about your schedule. Now here's where it gets genuinely stressful for SpaceX, because this next deadline isn't decided by NASA, by Congress, or even by Elon Musk's caffeine intake. It's decided by physics. Earth and Mars don't orbit the sun on convenient timelines. Every 26 months, the two planets line up just right for a fuel-efficient transfer window, roughly an 8-week stretch where you can actually get a rocket from here to there without needing an ocean propellant. Miss it, and you're not waiting until next Tuesday. You're waiting more than 2 years for the planets to line back up. The next window opens in November 2026. That's not a typo, and by the time some of you are watching this, that window may already be uncomfortably close. Musk has floated launching as many as 5 uncrewed starships during that stretch. Tesla's Optimus robots along for the ride, an Italian space agency payload, the whole science fiction package. As essentially a giant, does this thing survive re-entry on another planet experiment? Here's the plot twist though. As of early 2026, SpaceX quietly pivoted a huge chunk of its engineering and financial firepower toward the moon instead, chasing that Artemis deadline we just talked about. The Mars window hasn't been canceled, but it's now competing for the same engineers, the same factory floor, the same Raptor engines, and the same 24 hours in a day as the lunar program. 2 hard deadlines, arriving practically back-to-back, both needing the same unsolved orbital refueling trick to actually work. It's like being told you have a final exam and a job interview on the same morning, except the final exam is scheduled by NASA, and the job interview is scheduled by the literal orbital mechanics of the solar system, and neither of them is willing to reschedule for you. The competition SpaceX won't admit is scary. Let's talk about China. Not in the ominous music red flag graphic way half of YouTube does it. Let's just look at what's actually happening, because it's genuinely wild. China has been building toward a crewed moon landing by 2030 for years now, and unlike SpaceX's test early blow stuff up approach, China's been doing it the quiet, methodical, almost boring way. Earlier this year, they flight tested their Long March 10th rocket out of the Wenchang launch site, successfully landed the booster's first stage back on Earth, and confirmed their Lanhua moon lander has already completed propulsive landing and takeoff tests in simulated lunar gravity. Translation: China's landing hardware has already done things Starship's landing hardware hasn't done yet. To be fair, NASA's Artemis II crew successfully looped around the moon and came home earlier this year, which is a real and legitimate head start. But we flew around it, and we can land on it and take off again are 2 very different sentences, and right now China can say the second one with a straight face of their own lander, while America's lander is still working through orbital refueling homework. China isn't rushing. That's honestly the scariest part. They don't need to win a hype cycle or trend on social media. They just need to show up on the moon once, on schedule, while everyone else is still debugging their gas station in orbit. Slow and steady doesn't usually beat the hare in real life. But China seems determined to test that theory at the worst possible time for everyone betting on Musk's timeline. So put it all together. A NASA deadline that's already been extended once and is now openly shared with a competitor. A Mars window that opens on a schedule nobody controls. An orbital refueling problem that's never been solved by anyone ever at this scale. And a Chinese program quietly checking off milestones one by one with almost zero drama. That splashdown footage from Flight 13, it wasn't SpaceX taking a victory lap. It was SpaceX buying itself a few more months on a clock that's already running on 4 separate deadlines at once. Deadlines set by Congress, by physics, and by a country that's not interested in waiting around for America to catch up. Starship doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to stop failing on the one skill that unlocks everything else. Moving fuel from one ship to another while both are falling around the Earth at orbital speed. Nail that and the moon, Mars, and everything after suddenly become a logistics problem instead of a science fiction dream. Miss it, And 2026 becomes just another year of impressive splashdowns and slipping calendars. Either way, the next 12 months are going to tell us more about the future of human spaceflight than the last 5 years combined. If you want to actually understand what's coming instead of just watching the highlight reel, hit subscribe, because this story is nowhere near over, and neither is this channel's coverage of it.